Love and longing. Why are you two doing that? One of the children asks them as they dance. Doing what? Miro Noir asks. Why are you dancing? The girl clarifies. Why wouldn't we? Vernon asks before he gives Miro Noir a twirl that has her dress brushing up against his legs. We love being together and dancing's fun. It makes sense to me. But on the water? The little girl asks, and they both pause to look down. Just a little callback to our first dance together, Miro Noir notes. We were both trying so hard that day, I to get a wonderful husband, you to not screw up in front of a beautiful woman. We both walked away winners, Vernon says in a smug tone. Yes, we did. Miro Noir confirms, leaning into him, and the dance becomes much closer. Ew, soppy stuff, the little girl declares and rushes away, and both Vernon and Miro Noir fight down chuckles at that response. Scrappy little things. Do you think ours will heckle us as we dance? Not likely. It'll be so normal by the time they won't even think to. Do you heckle the sky? Of course not. Miro Noir replies, and he lets out a hum of satisfaction. Good. Because I truly do love these moments. Although I do wish I had actual dance lessons when I was younger, Vernon remarks. You're still plenty young. There's time. Not to mention you're a very diligent student getting plenty of practice, she says happily. Oh, thank you, Vernon begins before Miro Noir's head snaps around and a tongue of green fire reduces a thrown water glob into less than steam. The little girl that used Axiom to control the water says. She just stares at them for a moment before running away fast and hard. I'm not that scary, Miro Noir begins to ask before a light kiss cuts her off. Oh, Vernon. They kiss deeper and just bask in each other's presence for a bit. Then there's the sound of a fussy baby, and they're both moving fast. Miro Noir can break the sound barrier while walking casually, but Vernon is effectively omnipresent while within the dark forest. So he's there first to try and settle a fussy little baby that had been playing with breathing fire and had actually managed a spark that had landed on her hand and startled her. Oh dear, poor baby, Vernon notes as he kisses the mildly redder part of the chubby little hand. Warfire scare? Miro Noir asks as she arrives, bleeding Axiom into the environment to dispel the shockwave of her speed. Our little lady here looks a little too eager to be like Mommy, Vernon says, and he grins as Ari Noir reaches out for her mother. Oh, you want some of Mommy's fire? Miro Noir asks as she takes the baby. As she speaks, a tiny tongue of multicolored flame licks out, and she looks up and breathes out a tiny plume of some of the coldest fire she has. That it still has green sparks and is an even split of blue and red says quite a bit about her martial strength. Ari Noir tries reaching up to the hot flames and sparks, but her little arms are far too short for such a feat. Clearly she's already forgotten the scare she gave herself if she's eager for more warfire. Always so eager, so quick to want to grow, Miro Noir notes. First you hatch a week early, now you're spitting sparks a full month ahead of your sisters. She's going to rush into everything. It's going to be a mission to stop her from rushing to trouble, Vernon says, and his voice brings the shimmering eyes of Ari to gaze on him, even as she shoves half her hand in her mouth to suck on. He gives her a tickle on the belly, and she squirms and giggles before grabbing onto his hand with both the slobbery right fist and her clean left. She then promptly guides the hand to her mouth and begins trying to gnaw on his index knuckle without any teeth. Miro Noir laughs lightly at the sight. I know you're an utter sweetie, Vernon, but it seems to be a little on the literal side. Seems to be, he says, stroking Ari Noir's cheek with his thumb. Still, I'd be gladly eaten alive if it's to feed my little wonders. Thankfully, we have game aplenty for them in its stead. Don't forget fruits and vegetables, they've inherited my appetite. I'm very aware, Noir says. Still, those fruits are sweet and healthy for them. They do love them so. Even you've admitted they've made good garnishes and flavorings. An apple stuffed into a roasting bird is a classic for a reason. Yes, it was very good. Noir notes before giving Noir a little bounce. The tiny baby gives a little sounds as she's bounced a bit and then dissolves into laughter after a bit. After a few more minutes, Noir is happy again and she's placed in front of a small play area. The rest of her sisters are happy to nap away, but she's up and awake. Thankfully, she's happy to grab a stuffed toy and start flailing around with it before cuddling it. Do you think she was fluffing it out? Vernon asks with interest. Oh, who's to say? It's not any cuddlier from where it was before she thrashed with it. Noir notes. Now, where were we? Vernon asks as he grabs Noir around the waist. Oh, Vernon! Noir gushes as they begin to dance again. This time with a more appreciative audience in the form of Noir, complete with the ear of the stuffed animal in her mouth. It's not for some time until they're interrupted again. Well, sort of. Neither Vernon nor Noir consider attending to their daughters as an interruption. So the end of a nap, the entirety of a baby's edutainment movie, a meal and lots of tickles, bounces, and cuddles later. Both of them are cuddling with each other on a plush and comfortable couch that Vernon has in his place in the dark forest. Which is when Noir's communicator goes off. Oh, sparks and cinders, she mutters as she pulls it out and regards the caller ID. I do not know this name. Zeus Nunn, Vernon considers. Isn't that kind of like Jane Doe for humans? A placeholder name? Or a name used by women trying to be mysterious? Noir confirms before activating it on audio only. This is Princess Noir, currently cuddled up to my adoring husband and watching over my beloved children. What is this call about? Princess Noir. Yes, I am Zeus Nunn, a private investigator. I've been contracted to look into the events surrounding the recent arrest of the Barlise and Harkle families. Can I borrow some minutes of your time? Oh, very well. So long as this isn't used to harm the children. That's the very thrust of this. There is a great deal of concern that children are in danger. Zeus's nun states. I see. So what is it you want to know? Noir asks. Could you step away from your husband, please? This is a rather indelicate subject and I wouldn't want him to be distressed. Zeus Nunn explains. Lady, you need to double check on your names and who's who. I can take more than you. Easily, Vernon remarks. Oh, hold on a moment. I need to... Zeus Nunn gives out a strange sound. I apologize, I got the information for another battle princess here. My apologies. You're the one that married the human soldier, yes? No other wives? I am. Very good. Are you also the woman who was involved with the latest Barlise and Harkle arrests? Zeus Nunn asks. I am. Oh, by the way, I'm aware of the trick, Noir states. Trick? Zeus Nunn asks in a neutral tone. You're using a tactic where you deliberately get some information wrong and use it to get me to start answering things. You don't need to pull any tricks, and the more tricks you try to pull, the less likely I am to cooperate. Noir says, and Zeus Nunn pauses. Could you please tell me about your encounter with the Barlise and Harkle families, please? I've been hired by a concerned party who's honestly confused at this latest turn of events. I see. Well, perhaps you could tell me what would normally happen and I'll explain where things deviated from the norm and, should I know it, why. Noir offers, and there's a pause. Very well then. To summarize, when the Barlise and Harkle attack one another, there are casualties before the police arrive. They are then arrested and held in different facilities. During this, their children are generally being held in an official capacity, and after a large enough amount of the family is released, anywhere between 10 and 15%, and they then find out where the children are being held and recover them before slowly waiting for the remaining family members to be slowly released from prison. After that, it's usually 5 to 10 years before the pattern repeats. Zias Non says, and Miro Noir nods. I see. Well, what happened this time is that shortly before the incident, as in the day just before police action began, a group of Barley's children escorted their brothers to the edge of the dark forest to try and make them stronger as sorcerers. They lost their nerve when encountering actual sorcerers, in particular human sorcerers, meaning soldiers in full practical uniform. They left, but not before the forest made its initial contact with them, turning the young boys into potentials. I'm sorry, for the sake of clarity, can you repeat that? There are 3 Barley sorcerers, Zias Nun asks. 3 aspiring Barley sorcerers. To them, the woods are a whisper so faint the wind overpowers it with ease. Vernon speaks up. Would that be your husband, the sorcerer Vernon? It's Vernon, although the way you speak you'd swear we're siblings, Vernon says, and Miro Noir scoffs. No teasing, dear. She's being serious. Miro Noir chides him. Sorry, Vernon apologizes. Now, to make up for it, I will explain that my beloved wife and I decided to take a look at why these children were so nervous and took a walk nearby their home, just in time for the arrest to begin and for the dark forest to accidentally interfere. How does the dark forest interfere? It is a great deal larger than most think. There's a reason why sorcerers have shown up through all points of epoch history and culture. It had a single tree in the front yard, and it proved disastrous to the local officers. So my wife and I, Vernon explains before a finger with a delicately painted nail touches his lips. Suffice to say, at that point everything should be in the official report. Is there anything else you need? Miro Noir asks, and there is a pause. No, that will do for now. Thank you for your assistance. Would you be available for later questions? Zias Non asks. A moment, please. I need to discuss. We have plans coming up, Miro Noir says before muting the communicator. Just watch, my love. She will have one last parting question to try and get it out of us out of hand. She's fishing through clear waters. We have nothing to hide. I know that. You know that she doesn't, Miro Noir says. Let me speak with her, darling. Vernon makes a zipping motion over his lips and Miro Noir mimes a kiss at him. We're back. I apologize for the delay. My dear husband is attending to the children. I see. Now before I go, do you know anything about the Dark Forest adopting? Is this one of the sorcerers playing coy? You know, how they say that they are all part of the Dark Forest and it is a part of them? Is that what they mean? Oh no, it's quite literal, Miro Noir says. If that is all, then have a wonderful day. Bye now. She then ends the call before Zias Non can get another word in edgewise and chuckles to herself a little. Think she's going to call back? Vernon asks. She doesn't want to lose her air of mystique. She's going to give it at least a few hours. Miro Noir notes and he chuckles. I wonder how long people will take to realize that this isn't some all-consuming conspiracy, that it's just things being played straight as an arrow? Well, if it wasn't heading to such an odd direction, I don't think it would take them long at all, Miro Noir notes. How is it odd, though? They're being fostered into an old family with a large number of elder foster siblings and many nieces and nephews from them. It's downright routine, Vernon says, and Miro Noir scoffs at the outright boring summary of the strange turn of events, which is when some of the girls start to get fussy again. It turns out that Gia Noir needs a change of diaper, meaning the rest should be checked as well. The work of a parent is never done.